So, Ozge, I'm excited to catch up with you here at Mobile World Congress. It's 2025. We're only kind of halfway through a 10-year generational cycle for 5G, but we're going to talk a little bit about 6G. But before we get into it, I'm just kind of curious if you can reflect back over the work that you've done on 5G from development to specification to commercialization. What kind of lessons stand out to you that you think might be applicable for this next wave of research and development?
Yeah, it's great to see you again. Every year we get to see each other here. Like you said, it's almost been 10 years. It was 2016 at MWC 2016 when we were over there with the first 5G demo. So that was really what kicked off the whole 5G commercialization, the whole adventure, the ecosystem engagement that we went through. And it took really from 2016 to 2019, 2020 for 5G to get commercialized, and now we're 5 years into it. And of course, already we're at a point where we have to now start thinking of 6G and 6G development and the ecosystem development, engagement. So as you know, in 3GPP, the standardization is essentially next week when everything gets kicked off with a workshop, and then the study item, 2 years, and then work item, targeting commercialization of 2030. So we're really at the beginning of our own development and ecosystem engagement and pulling in all the partners and operators as we address all the different aspects of 6G. So we'll certainly be here next year in MWC, the following year's MWC, growing and growing to the point where 6G will be a reality and it'll be everywhere, and we'll be in commercialization.
Yeah, I want to talk more about that ecosystem piece, but first, you referenced the RAN plenary, which is going to be next week in Korea. Can you maybe take us through some of your research priorities that you all are going to take to the table there, and then start to communicate out to the ecosystem?
Sure. So it's the workshop that starts next week, and the study item will kick off in August, and we want to make sure that there are key parts that key foundational aspects that we want to be able to address in 6G that provide an opportunity for 6G networks to address operator concerns and also the growing capacity needs with new devices like AR, VR glasses, which certainly, in my opinion, will become a very big use case by the 2030 timeframe. But we want to make sure that we can address capacity. We want to make sure that we can address reduce the cost to operators, the operational cost, so more energy efficient networks, which that's really a key part, and also coverage. We want to make sure that we're not just addressing capacity without worrying that cell edge coverage is not that good, because coverage is key for if you do have something like AR, VR glasses. You want to make sure that use case is with you throughout the cell site. It's something that maybe we didn't focus enough of in 5G, but in 6G we want to make sure. So all of these aspects, our overall vision is 6G is something we'll start discussing next week and then push into the standards.
So when you think about 2030, and I've asked you to speculate lightly perhaps, but what gets you excited about this idea of seamless connectivity across terrestrial networks and non-terrestrial networks and ubiquitous coverage? And I mean, as an engineering professional, I know there's a lot of things that are engaging for you, but also as a consumer of the technology, what gets you excited?
So ubiquitous coverage is important. So clearly, if I'm living in New York or LA, I probably do have coverage in many places. But if you do go to certain areas like Joshua Tree Park or other parks, or middle of the U.S. or different parts of the world where you don't have coverage, then you don't really want to have to think that, I'm in an area where I can't use certain services that I'm not used to. I can't communicate with my family, can't communicate with friends. So having ubiquitous coverage, I think, is important. And it's, having a cost-effective way of doing that is also important, both for safety as well as for, for enabling these use cases. And in a sense, it's, if we look at what we did in 5G for certain things, like for instance, all the stadium and event use cases with millimeter wave where it's only available there, in all those targeted areas, but it serves in a very important use case. So maybe it's a 1% use case that's very important. It's key for operators, key for users to get an enriched experience, in those venues. Ubiquitous coverage is a similar way. So maybe I have coverage most of the time, but the 1% I don't have coverage, I really will value it, right? So it's an important aspect of the deployment.
Excellent. Well, Ozge, I really appreciate you taking the time to give us a bit of an update on your R&D focuses at Qualcomm. It's just always good to catch up.
Yeah, great talking to you. Thank you.